Hi, I'm Kate Dorsey. Welcome to the Now Factor. How to quit waiting for everything to be okay, connect to your divine gifts, and create a life of boldness and power. I am so glad that you're joining us today, and I am super excited to introduce you to Summer McStravick. Hey, Summer, how are you doing?
Hi, Kate. I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Awesome. I would love to get started with you sharing about the work that you do and how you found yourself doing that work.
Oh, boy. Well, I started Flowdreaming formally with the name attached to it probably around the year 2000, 1999, maybe a bit earlier than that. I'm always a little fuzzy back when. I was, at the time, not working at Hay House. I had not, really done anything significant. I was still in my 20s. and I had a newspaper, like a weekly magazine that I would put out. And it was going really terribly because it was in the arts, and I talked about books and writers. And there's something that my family had always done, which we would get together in a kind of prayer circle, and make good wishes for one another. And my family's just always been this way. So I was with my mom on the phone one day, and we decided that we were going to kind of buddy up and kind of, in a way, pray for each other every day. But we were calling it manifesting, co-creating, creative visualization, affirmations, hypnosis, all the terms that were very much in fashion 20 years ago, really. And we began doing this, and the practice that we started just sort of evolved, and we found ourselves in what I discovered was flow state, which sent me off into this rabbit hole of research. What is this? What's going on? Discovered it was, in fact, a thing. There is such a thing. Most people know this as flow. It's not just go with the flow. Flow is a real state of being. It's a heightened state of being. It's where you pretty much are so focused in on the thing that you're doing that everything comes into alignment inside you. And, in psychology, they talk about it like you get into flow and you have the perfect golf game. You get into flow and you have a scientific breakthrough that's been eluding you all this time. So I looked at the state of flow that I was going to, and I noticed that I wasn't applying it to golf games, no, or scientific breakthroughs. I was actually applying it to the spiritual side of myself. I was applying it to my life, to my growth, to my personal development. And I was beginning to use it as a tool to communicate between myself and, something more divine. What I noticed was the flow became more like a place. It became more like a state of being where everything was at my fingertips. And the feeling in that place was one of total ease, total alignment, complete emotional connection. And that's when the next part of the practice really came to my attention, emotion. You don't just be in this place. You can create in this place. You can offer up your feelings, your emotion into this place. Emotion is the universal language. And when you're doing that, you're creating this really rich experience between you and the universe. And in that experience, you're able to do all those things that I was trying to do before, co-create, find divine guidance, program my future. And so these things came together, and I realized that I was, using daydreaming to get myself there, and they became, the triangle or the focus or the three main pillars of what I call Flowdreaming today, and which I teach everybody today. And we use it for everything, especially healing, not just creating things, but also healing and resolving things.
Yeah. How do we, first off, I have like 300 questions because it just sounds amazing. And I've also had the pleasure of experiencing one of your Flowdreaming sessions, which was phenomenal. Yeah. And for anybody listening or watching, for sure, check that out. It's incredible. But what I'd love to illuminate a little bit more is how do we use flow to help us move through difficult times, to help us, because there's a difference. When we talk about flow, I hear, just even as you're describing it, the ease, the relaxation, the allowing ourselves to just be present and experiencing things. And it reminds me of feeling blissful as well. And when we're going through difficulties or challenges, like a breakup, like our entire life feels like it just caved in on itself.
Yeah, the bottom drops out. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you're kind of left standing there amongst the ruins. How do you move into flow?
Yeah. Well, and pardon me if I close my eyes a lot when we talk. I know you can see me on video when we're recording this, but because when I speak, I often kind of move into a flow state just because for me, that's the easiest, most natural state of being. So being in flow is really being aware that we're always in a constant state of change. That's what flow is. You know, if you imagine, I always love to use the ocean because I live here in San Diego and gosh, I'm about 1.5 miles from the ocean. And I go and I sit with the waves and I watch them come in and then they pull out. And they come in and they pull out. And I mean, it's incessant. It's mind-boggling. It never stops, this rhythm, this motion. And every time they come in, they bring a whole different set of shells, a whole different set of seaweed, and then they pull back out and they take all the sand out to the ocean and they recycle it to the ocean floor. And this state of change, to me, it just embodies it. Mm-hmm. And we, you know, as people tend to hate change. Yeah. Yet we live in change constantly, but we consider those times when really nothing changes as like the best times. Like that was the relationship, you know, that was the era, those were the years, and we coddle these periods as the best. And I wonder how I'll ever reach them again, or I will never reach them again. We start making up all these stories about these blissful periods. Or we get into the other side of things, which is not only, was the period blissful, but then it became stagnant and terrible, and now I'm so stuck. And if you ever hear yourself saying that, what you're really saying is, now I'm not changing enough, and this pool of energy and water and life and change that should be constantly flowing, instead has become stagnant. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like stagnant water becomes, unhealthy water. It becomes mosquito water and swamp water.
I was just thinking that sounds like where mosquitoes are bred and born.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So the key really is finding that sweet middle ground where you recognize that all the things I love, I'm going to drink deeply of. And I recognize, though, that those things are also going to end and new things are going to come in and take their place. So this is where we get stuck, right? We don't want those things to end, even when we know deep in our hearts often that they should, or we don't understand why they are, and we fight it and we resist it. And that's where we go into resistance in our lives. And it's often the resistance that makes things, incredibly painful. There's a bit of Buddhist thought in that, right? Mm-hmm. Don't suffer. Let go of the suffering. Just flow. Just let yourself naturally move into the next state. But, you mentioned like a breakup, for instance. When you have something that's a loss, and I work with people with breakups, I have people who've lost family members, people who've been diagnosed with things that shake up their world. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but I was diagnosed with breast cancer a couple of years ago.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and my kids were still in 4th grade, 7th grade. Oh. Yeah, and I thought, what? Hello, universe? I've been such a good girl.
What hand have you dealt me here?
Yeah. I was like, look, I was vegetarian for 24 years. I was going to CrossFit in the gym 3 times a week. I've done yoga for 15 years. I mean, I teach people how to be better people for a living, for God's sakes. What the hell?
Right.
Okay. And then, it's that same sense of total and utter betrayal that you get in a breakup, that sense of loss, that sense of why me, that sense of, oh, I screwed up again, or really, or just complete bewilderment, anger, and, sorry, that's my cat on the table, and a sense of not being fair. And no matter what the loss or the trigger for it is, if it's losing someone, important in your life, we still move through this. But this is an ending, in the classic sense. But, like they say, all endings are beginnings. Mm-hmm. And our struggle is to release the resistance to the ending, to not get stuck in all of these lack thoughts around it, but instead to move ourselves into, I'm grateful to have had this experience, like I'm grateful to have had all experiences. Mm-hmm. Because I trust myself, I trust my life, and I trust the universe. Yeah. And if any of those 3 areas of trust are broken, what ends up happening is then we get into this resistance, this anger, this hurt, and we prolong it until we feel that we've either worked it all out of us, or until we end up burying it so deep that we just say, I'm not going to think about it, and I'm just going to move on. Time's going to move on. But there is another way. And that way for me involves moving into flow, co-creating what it is that I really want, remembering that state of ease is always there for me, no matter what I'm experiencing, what I'm going through. And I can't cherry pick my experiences. If I trust that the universe has my back, if I trust that the universe is an abundant universe, not a stingy universe, right? Stingy universes take important things away and never give them back and say, screw you, you were stupid and wrong, get better next time. Abundant universes say, no, actually, this is an important shift. You need to be inside this right now. How do you want to experience this?
Yeah.
It was the same thing I did with my cancer. How do I want to experience this? Not, oh my God, get this away from me. So, all of these forms of loss for me really take the same pattern toward healing. I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to embrace it. Decide how I want to be inside this. I get out of that critical mind. You're so bad. You screwed up. What did you do? This person hurt you so badly. They're horrible. But when you can reach that point with somebody who's been just evil to you in your life, and I have, and you can say about this person, thank you. You played an amazing role. You were the villain extraordinaire. That must have been really tough for you to sign up to play that role so well. I'm grateful to you. If you can get to that point, then you know that you have really moved on. Your water is flowing, and you can be back in that state of ease. But it's an emotional wake-up that you have to do. It's an emotional decision you have to make in your mind where it's kind of, in a way, the theme of what we're talking about in this whole summit.
Yeah.
It's a choice. I'm out of lack, and I'm into embrace, no matter what it is.
So I'm hearing several things. One, what I'm hearing is when we resist the pain, when we resist the experience, we prolong our suffering.
Yes.
When we allow ourselves to have the emotions move through us, we recognize that we're releasing, and we will move back into a period of ease. You're also really saying, let's not get so stuck in our head. Let's let the emotions run through. So be mindful of the thoughts that you're saying to yourself and ease into it. And I'm also really present to how challenging that can be for people. And there are stories that we're making up about the emotions that we're experiencing. Maybe there's judgments around our sadness, judgments around the loss. And that for what you're really advocating for is be present to the feelings. Know that we're in a constant state of change and flux, and that this too shall pass. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the ways that in Flowdreaming, we would also look at that is, what do you want to be feeling instead?
Yes. The choice part.
Yeah, that's the choice part. And so for me, I call them our emotional endpoints. And these emotional endpoints, I call them endpoints because ultimately it's that relationship that you thought was going to give you a certain emotion. It's going to give me a feeling of love, a feeling of belonging, a feeling of validation. Sometimes it's just simply that I've never had a great relationship. I thought this was it. It didn't work out. Now it just double validates to me that no one is there for me. No one will ever be there for me. I'm always going to be on my own. Any relationship I have is going to suck at best. And the universe is just not going to give me a relationship in this lifetime. I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think, okay, so basically you feel that the world hasn't validated who you are. And it's another way of saying I don't deserve it. But it's another way of saying the universe is stingy and not going to give it to me. It's going to give it to everybody else, but not to me. And this is all a form of lack and a form of resistance.
Yeah.
The other end of that is, wait, how do I really want to feel?
Yeah.
I want to feel loved. I feel adored, and even take the want to out. I feel loved. I feel adored. I feel like I'm totally sharing who I am with a person who is absolutely open to embracing that from me, wants more of it, is fascinated by me. I admire this person. They admire me back. We feel passionate. We feel friendship. We give each other space. I mean, you can add the list in, but what you're really wanting when you're describing your relationship is a series of emotions. You're not really describing a person. You're describing the emotions that they give you. What is giving me plenty of space means? It means I don't feel boxed in.
Right.
If a person is loyal, what's that? It's a feeling. It's a feeling of, I trust this person. I have feelings of trust. So that's all we're really seeking are this pool, a specific set of emotions that you're looking for embodied in a person who can give them to you.
Mm.
And then for you to say to the universe, nobody's ever going to give me that set of emotions, well, if you keep saying that, then the universe is going to respond with, okay, clearly that's what you expect, want, and think, and we always show up and mirror who and what you think, so of course you're not going to get that. And it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
Right.
So in flow dreaming, you go in and you actually feel those emotional states now. You put the cart before the horse, in a literal sense. And you begin feeling those emotions now. And you end up saying to the universe, I am deeply loved. I'm deeply adored. I have a creative partner. I have a financially secure partner. What does financially secure partner mean? Anyone who's ever been with a guy or a woman who is terrible with money, you love them, but it gives you intense anxiety.
Yeah, all the time, right? Like so
anxiety. Yeah, how are we going to live? How are we going to survive? And he doesn't bring in, any income, or she always spends it, or, all those old tropes, right? What you're actually asking for is, I need feelings of security in my life and serenity, that I don't have to panic about income. That's an emotional state.
Yeah.
So stop waiting for a partner to come in and give you all of these feelings. Just stop it. Start creating these feelings inside yourself now. I have financial security. I have genuine admiration about myself and about everybody in my life. I have feelings of passion and creativity. I have feelings of, and I expect these feelings in my partner. My partner gives me these feelings. Now, this partner doesn't even have to be in your life right now.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're doing is I call it kind of recoding your universe. You're recoding your flow, which, again, is a system of flow and change. But you're the conscious actor in this flow and change. And if you're not sitting there giving it a template from yourself constantly of what you expect, then that wave is just going to throw up on the shore whatever it throws up, whatever it drags in. And that's how so many of us live. We're just like, okay, I'll just pick through whatever's there.
Right, like let me sort it out. Like, yeah. So
yeah.
What I'm loving about what you're saying is choice, because I'm a really big advocate for that as well. Like,
yes.
Fundamentally, we have a choice. There is, to me, substantially, if we want to boil it down to science, I think it's really hard to prove one way or the other. And so you have a choice, and like you get to step forward into what you want to believe. And what if doing that opens up a floodgate of abundance? And I love what you're saying about the emotions and like how we're seeking those, but what if we were to turn it around and not just like embrace them, like not just think about it from the standpoint of if I feel this, I'll create this, but start to experience it from, like, what I'm really getting at is start to experience it from, I give this to myself.
I give this to myself. I create this around me. Universe, this is what I want you to hear from me. Yeah. You imagine that you're like a shining lighthouse, a beacon, a radio tower. And these feelings that you're carrying around, if you're carrying around guilt, anger, betrayal, sense of broken trust with the universe, broken trust with others, right? Then the universe responds back. It's just a mirror, like everything around you right now. Imagine if everything you could see around you is actually a little tiny facet of a cosmic mirror, all reflecting back to you what you're putting out. And in a literal sense it is, because you probably chose the room that you're in. Like, I chose this house. In essence, I made this house that I'm in right now. So it's a mirror of all of my actions up until this point. People in your life, similar. So I am now mirroring to my life and my future, or templating it, sending out a radio beacon of, this is what I expect to feel. These are the kinds of people I expect to have in my life. This is the kind of relationship that I expect, intend, and know that I have and I'm deserving of. It's inside of me, and I'm not waiting for you to give it to me. I'm going to experience these feelings before you ever give me any reason to give these feelings. Because the more that I'm waiting for something outside of me to give me the feelings, the more basically I'm giving up my power to something outside me. This is a real core thing in Flowdreaming and in Me School, which is the bigger program I teach around it. The core feeling inside you is either everything I need is outside me, and I have to react and wait to get what I need based on what other people do, what other people say, if they want me, if they don't want me. Meaning I'm always in a powerless position.
Right.
Instead, I say, no, all the power is within me. I'm not waiting on you to make me feel loved. I'm not waiting on you to make me feel validated. I'm not waiting on you to make me feel hired and worthy at work. I'm not, you see?
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for who's holding the power in the situation. Because if it's, but in our actions daily, we find ourselves getting in these big, long waiting zones, frustration zones. Frustration, huge power leak. All it's telling you is you're not in power right now. How come? Why not? Why are you letting the world dictate how you feel? You don't have to do that. You're choosing to do that because you've been trained to do that, but you don't have to do that.
Right. Gosh. What I heard from that 100% was personal power, was you have the choice, was fundamentally take back your emotions. Allow yourself to almost just be with what would it be like to have all these experiences. That's the stepping, like almost like a stepping stone. Like what, if you can't feel them as though you have them, start with what would it be like? Yeah. And then you get to play into it. And it's so funny because like you talked about daydreaming, and I know Flowdreaming has that aspect to it. It's that thing that I'm reminded of in school that we were like taught out of. You know, like that they're like, stop daydreaming. And it's so funny because I swear, like I'll take breaks during the day just to allow myself to daydream, to play into possibilities. And I know sometimes I get overly scheduled. And when I am overly scheduled, I find it significantly harder to daydream and to allow that. And I function tremendously better when I build that in. Yeah. When that's there. And it's like really what you're getting at is we have a choice. And like, if I'm setting myself up by overscheduling, because it is like setting yourself up, like by overscheduling, then I get to take back that personal power and choice. Yes.
Yeah. And that could lead me down a whole other like tangent, basically between the head and the heart. Yeah. Right? The head is always, I call it the king and the queen in my teachings. And the king says, schedule up, do all this stuff, do as I say, everything will work out. I'm logical, and I know what will happen, and I know it will work. And then eventually the heart says, look, I'm really full right now. I need some time to let things settle. Like, think about every day you go through all of these emotions inside yourself, right? It's like a bag of chips, and the bag is huge, but the chips have settled from packing and shipping, right? We're like, yeah, right, really, you just didn't put many chips in there in the first place. Well, your heart's similar, right? Imagine a full bag of chips, all these emotions that you power through in the day, anxiety, worry, got to get it done, stress, responding to the kids, responding to the phone calls, you know, all of this stuff is stirred up, and your heart's saying, I need to let this settle. I can't drink it anymore until this all gets settled in me. Meanwhile, the head's like, nope, no time for that. No time for that. Nope, you got things to do. And the heart basically gets bamboozled. You know, what's a better word? Bamboozled? But the heart wants to listen to the supposed leader who says, just do it my way. So the heart goes, okay, fine. And all that stuff never really gets processed through. It just goes in and stuffs in and stays in until you're completely stressed out and you're a nutcase because you haven't given yourself those open spaces, those moments to daydream because you've been listening to this other voice. But we all know if you constantly listen to that voice, and now we're kind of on another tangent, but if you constantly listen to that voice, you're going to end up super stressed out. You're going to end up burned out, and you're probably going to miss most of the greatest opportunities and pivot points that you could have been alert for had your head and your heart been working together. Because it turns out the head often lies. It wants to keep you so secure that it's going to tell you anything to make you feel better. Like, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. But if you're not in a position of complete success in your body and your health and your heart and your work right now, you can believe that your head has probably led you astray quite a bit.
Right. So that brings me to like thinking about how do we align more to our heart? How do we allow ourselves to hear that? And then also from that, like, how do we reopen our heart after heartbreak? You want to talk for another 2 hours?
I know. I'm really loving this. I'm like, how? After heartbreak? So I look at heartbreak as oftentimes, so I'm always looking for patterns in people's lives. Yeah. You know, that's one of my main objectives. I want to see the patterns in your energy. I want to see where your flow is moving and where it's stuck. I want to see what you're actually telling the world, not what you think you're telling the world. And one of the patterns that often comes up, it's not the same for everybody, but is betrayal. There's some form of betrayal. And I don't mean just physical betrayal, like he went out on me. It's a bigger form of betrayal. It's a betrayal that I risked and gambled something precious to me, my heart. I thought I was right. I ended up being wrong. Or she walked away with me without any explanation. She turned into someone else. How could I have been so wrong? How could she have been so wrong? How could this have happened to me? I was blindsided. How come all of my relationships end up like this? What's wrong with me? You see, all of these questions are like this continual breaking down of trust, just crushing it over the years into like this fine powder. And the trust is either I don't trust myself, I can't pick a partner, or the trust is broken with I don't trust other people. They are always going to disappoint me. Always. Or, again, the third area of trust.
I don't trust the universe.
The universe is just not going to give me a good partner this time. I've done everything right. It's screwing me over, and I'm just going to have to get used to it. So how do you get over a heartbreak? Really, for me, starts with where is your trust broken? Because as long as your trust stays broken there, you're never actually going to get over this. You're going to keep it, and you're going to say, I need more healing. And we always think it's the healing around the specific person. It's not. I mean, partly it is, but there's a bigger kind of healing that has to happen in you for you not to repeat this again and again. Because you'll go into your next relationship with that same feeling of, it's probably not going to work out. I'm watching for it not to work out. I'm hesitant. Oh my God, I don't even know if I want to give myself an opportunity to love again. And that's where I see a lot of people who, in fact, I have a specific flow dream called Reawakening to Love and Intimacy. Because I discovered that a lot of people who come to me and say, help me like find my ideal partner. And I say, you're closed up tighter than a, closed up lemon, like there's nothing open about you. And they're like, no, I'm so open. And I say, no, actually, you're not. I can feel how shut down you are.
Right.
And so your desire and your beingness are very different. And I say, all you have to do is look at your life right now and see what's in it to give you a clear understanding of what's really happening inside of you. And I say, is there anybody loving and adoring in your life? And they say, no. And I say, then there is obviously some sort of conflict inside of you that's producing this stalemate. So you can't say you're open because your life would be reflecting it if you were. And I always look at life and I say, what's the evidence out there pointing to? What's the evidence showing you? And, it takes away all the guesswork because you think like, I don't know. I never know what life is telling me. I never know what God is telling me or Spirit's telling me. I'm like, yeah, you do. Look around you.
Yeah.
It's a perfect reflection of what's going on. If you don't have something or if you're having trouble, getting through your relationship, it's a perfect reflection of the inner turmoil or the inner stuck or the closedness, etc. inside of you. So what you do is you practice. This is the antidote, if you will. You're going to practice a feeling before you have any rational reason in your life to feel this. I'm actually awake and allowing. I'm open and I'm willing to trust again, and I'm going to allow my heart to get hurt again if it needs to. Because I recognize that my heart, I know something from my heart because I had to learn a lot about it during therapy and for cancer. Your heart doesn't just distribute oxygen around your body. It also purifies and cleanses. A lot of your lymph goes into the heart, to the liver. It's also a cleansing. It gets rid of the cellular debris that it picks up in your blood. Every day it's physically delivering good stuff and removing bad stuff.
Yeah.
And yet we seem to think that emotionally our heart can only receive good stuff. We don't want it to have any bad stuff. It can't handle it. It will break. And instead I say, look, your heart is meant to break. Yeah. Let it break. That's part of its job. Let it break over and over. If you're not letting your heart break enough, it means you're abstaining from life. So love more, risk a little more, be a little more bold, be a little more confrontational, be more who you are. Get into that little scary zone inside yourself of being seen. This is your heart. This is you allowing your heart to grow and process, break and heal, break and heal, break and heal.
Yeah.
And so when you're saying, I'm going to practice now, opening myself, what you're saying is, heart, I trust you to break and heal because this is what you're supposed to be doing for me. And I know that we will get through this. And I know that the end game of all of this, the end game of all of these disappointments is I'm in love with you, you're in love with me, and we have a partner or we have a family, or we've been able to learn to develop these beautiful relationships. And that's the final irony. How can you ever ask someone to give something to you that you don't give to yourself?
Right.
Right? So having this beautiful, trusting relationship with myself is numero uno. And if I have that in me, I can certainly now have it with someone else. But if I don't have it in me, there's no way in hell I'm going to get it from someone else.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fundamental. Summer, I could literally spend days and days and days, not just hours talking to you because
thank you.
This is just so phenomenal. Like, what a huge perspective shift. Your heart is made to break and then heal over and over. And it's about, fundamentally, it's choice. It's allowing yourself to feel, letting it be open, and knowing that life is constantly in flux. If you hold tightly to the experiences, you're missing. You're grasping at something that's already meant to flow back out like water.
Exactly.
And going out. And this is just incredible. Thank you so much for your time. I know you have a free gift for our audience. Would you tell them what that is?
Yeah, I will. And I know we covered a lot of ground here and went in a lot of different places.
I love it. It's such a great interview.
This is all top level introduction to a lot of concepts. So thank you for staying with it. Yes, I do. I have a kit that I've created. I made over the years putting this together. It's actually a pretty fabulous product. I should sell it all on its own, but in my way of looking at life, everybody should know how to flow dream. I mean, it should be a fundamental. So what the kit is it's a starter booklet where I've basically written out how to do it. And then I give you an audio tutorial, which is where I talk to you about how to do it. And then I give you a practice flow dream, which it's kind of like meditation in a sense that you can meditate on your own or you can listen to a guided meditation. So I give you a guided flow dream as a means of teaching you how to do it. It's called Positive Flow. And the only point of it is to get you into a state of perfect, present, flowing alignment, to get you into that feeling state where you say, my emotional endpoint right now is to feel really extraordinary no matter what is going on around me. I get to choose how I feel, not all that stuff around me.
Mm-hmm.
So you get this free kit. It's at my website. And I just called, an Introduction to Flow Dreaming free kit, basically. And you can also get it on the app. So if you have a phone and you scroll and look for Flow Dreaming, either in Google or the App Store on iTunes, you can also download it and get it that way. But this kit will teach you everything that Flow Dreaming is. And then if you really want to do some more healing, I would suggest either talk to me about Me School or go to the Flow Dreaming website, and there's a whole section there for love. Everything. Repairing relationships, getting new relationships, reawakening to love and intimacy, your own personal heart relationships, all there. All of these are separate flow dreams. There's like 150 of them.
Oh,
and
wow.
Pick something and just get started.
Yeah, get started. Choose. Fundamentally right there. Choose. Y'all, first off, to access Summer's free gift, scroll down, click the download button. It will take you straight to her free gift. And then is it flowdreaming.com that they should go to? Okay,
yeah.
great.
Flowdreaming.com, and then you'll see something, a banner or a link that says free goodies, free kit. You'll find it.
Yeah. This is just incredible. Thank you so much for really highlighting how our heart is meant to heal, how we can keep it, how keeping it open is crucial, how trust is fundamental to the healing process, how to really be at peace and at ease in life. What you're out there teaching in this world is just phenomenal. And fundamentally that we have a choice.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Always remember, you're not getting over the person. You're actually getting over a bigger thing inside of you that this person just came in and volunteered to say, I'm going to help you with.
Yeah.
So that's the thing you find. What's the bigger thing? And then letting go of the actual person becomes a lot easier.
Oh, that's good. I'm going to just thank you, everyone, for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Kate, for letting me spout and go on.
I loved it. Thank you. Bye, all.